minutes, confirm that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Regional Strategy and Policy Committee held on 8th of October 2015 be a true and correct record, seconded by Councillor Penrose. I'll put that motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. We now move to item 4, petitions, with no petitions have been received. So we move to item 5, public input. And we do have items of public input. Is Patricia Cheel here yet? No, she's not. So our first item on the public input,
It's $200, isn't it?
is the item of fluoridation of Onehunga water supply. The two presenters, the presenters Richard and Robin Northey, and then we do have Kane Titchener from Fluoride Free New Zealand, who also has asked to present as well. So morning to Robin and Richard. Thank you. You have 5 minutes, and then you'll be subject to questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have copies for the councillors of our presentation here.
Thank you.
So we've made this deputation to you, asking that you initiate appropriate action that could lead to the fluoridation of the water supply in the area of Auckland formerly administered by the Onehunga Borough Council. We've spent most of our working life in local government and health sectors. Robin's a former dental nurse and a current Auckland District Health Board elected member. We're taking this action because many of the children and adults of Onehunga, Te Papapa and Oranga, who are our neighbours, are suffering unnecessary harm to their dental and general health. This would be considerably improved if the historical accident was put behind us and our water supply was fluoridated in the same way as is 85% of all Auckland's water supply, including nearly all of the rest of the urban area. Worldwide scientific research indicates a 15% increase in the number of children with no dental decay at all as a result of fluoridation, and in Auckland an up to 40% reduction in total dental decay among 5-year-olds in fluoridated areas like Mangere and Mount Roskill compared to their neighbours in Onehunga. As the 26 June 2013 memorandum from Chief Planning Officer Roger Blakely points out that the decision to fluoridate Auckland Council's water supply rests with the governing body of the Auckland Council. It also states that the issue of fluoridation would be reviewed as part of the Water Strategic Action Plan, which was due for completion this year. However, at the end of 2014, Council decided to discontinue the Water Strategic Action Plan for cost reduction reasons. Public health is a core responsibility of councils. You act to ensure the quality and health of food, restaurants and so on, the air, pollution and water. And we're not prepared to leave the dental health of Onehunga's kids in limbo indefinitely, so we've been obliged to bring this issue to you. We've got papers of interest from the time that fluoridation of the Onehunga water supply was last formally considered by the Auckland City Council in 2001 from John Dalton, the oral health program leader at Auckland Regional Dental Services, and a paper from myself as the Auckland councillor for the area. There was, I think, a mistake made to hold a referendum on the subject in 2001, which was lost narrowly, pretty even, lost, when a referendum should be about major constitutional issues, not scientific questions, like whether we should teach evolution or creationism in our schools. Nevertheless, the Mongakiki Community Board then unanimously supported fluoridation for their area, and the Council narrowly voted against it by a majority of 2. There's a special, got here, 2014 report of the Royal Society of New Zealand, which was commissioned at the request of the Auckland Council and other councils by Sir Peter Gluckman and Sir David Skegg, entitled The Health Effects of Water Fluoridation, a Review of the Scientific Evidence. Its conclusions are, quote, the World Health Organization, along with many other international health authorities, recommends fluoridation of water supplies where possible as the most effective public health measure for the prevention of dental decay. This analysis concludes that from a public health perspective, water fluoridation at the levels used in New Zealand poses no significant health risks and is effective at reducing the prevalence and severity of tooth decay in communities where it is used. Communities currently without community water fluoridation can be confident that this is a safe option that is cost-saving and of significant public health benefit, particularly in those communities with high prevalence of dental caries. We also attach here a 24 July memorandum on community water fluoridation from Dr. Julia Peters, the Clinical Director of the Auckland Regional Public Health Service. She'd wanted to join this deputation but sends her apologies, and the PowerPoint presentation that she had prepared for you with the Auckland Medical Officer of Health, Richard Hoskins, will now show on her behalf. Hopefully, yeah. So, fluoridation is effective because research shows it reduces tooth decay in children by up to 40% and in adults by up to 15%. Less tooth decay means better general health, less pain, less other infections, impaired chewing ability, tooth loss, better concentration and learning school, in general, a better start at life. Fluoridation is safe because research has shown that the only negative effect it can have is fluorosis. Some children develop what is a usually temporary mottling of their teeth in their first 8 years, particularly in areas with high natural fluoride levels in the water, or if they like swallowing fluoridated toothpaste. So, at the levels that it's proposed to put in the water, it's very rare to cause fluorosis. It's normally for these other causes. The Royal Society report carefully and respectfully shows that researchers found no evidence for each and all of the any other alleged effects. It goes through cancer, IQ, bone fractures, osteoporosis, dementia, kidney disease, liver damage, autism, nor, as widely alleged during the 2000 Onehunga fluoridation referendum, homosexuality. It's affordable. The Royal Society concluded the cost of tooth decay in terms of lost years of healthy life is equivalent to 75% of that lost in New Zealand from prostate cancer. It found, quote, CWF is a cost-effective use of ratepayer funds likely to save more in dental costs that it costs to run fluoridation programs, at least in communities of 1,000 people or more. So we're not arguing for it in small rural areas, but Onehunga has got over 10,000 people. Fluoridation is equitable. Low-income people are less likely to use or to be able to afford both healthy food and fluoride toothpaste or fluoride supplements, so they'll benefit more from fluoridation and achieve more equal health outcomes.
Thank
The higher income people who object to fluoridation can afford to filter it all out. So the other slides really speak, these are the leading health experts in Auckland. 40% less tooth decay. This is the Auckland organisation, 60 years of it globally, 70 years of research. This is the difference between fluoridated and non-fluoridated in the incidence of dental caries in year 8 children in New Zealand. This is the inequalities that it helps reduce. And so their role is, among others, to lead public health support, to communicate, engage with stakeholders, and to communicate that. So what possible reason is there for not fluoridating Onehunga's water? The most plausible reason is that fluoridation is compulsory mass medication, a powerful argument. However, we already accept much of this. We iodise our salt, we pasteurise our milk. And more relevant is the fact that even in Onehunga, all drinking water has chlorine added, an agent that's much more powerful and reactive than fluoride. And people can filter the fluoride out.
We're over the 5 minutes now, Richard.
Okay. So, it's not true that Onehunga's got a pure natural bore water supply. It flows under the Penrose industrial area and ends up having somewhat more dissolved impurities than the Waikato does, but it's still well within public health standards. There's a conspiracy theory that it's an industrial byproduct that's being forced on us, but it's exactly the same fluoride that occurs naturally in most natural water supplies. So it's really a question, unfortunately, comes down to inertia or political will, and that's up to you. You can't act on it immediately, but I'd ask you to take action that would seriously consider it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. I do have there's a motion that's been put up forward by Councillor Crum, but I just wondered if there's any questions from the meeting. Councillor Darby.
Richard, what evidence do you have, clinical evidence of dental caries being at a level heightened to the balance of Auckland?
I'm happy to answer that. I'm a member of the District Health Board. I'm not here as the District Health Board, but I bring my knowledge and skill from that area, as well as my years of being a school dental nurse. I get figures every month at District Health Board meetings that indicate that the figures in the non-fluoridated parts of the area, and that does include some rural parts of Rodney and Warkworth, are higher than children in comparative socioeconomic areas like Mangere or parts of Three Kings. So that's the demographic evidence, if you like. And you know, clinically, they have more filled, missing and decayed teeth. There are more total clearances where children are put under a general anaesthetic and have all their deciduous teeth removed because of dental caries and the pain, distress and ill health that's causing them. Children with decayed teeth are ingesting abscesses and the product of abscess constantly with everything they eat, and of course they don't grow and
I've got
and
that, but you don't have the clinical evidence. You're coming here with a proposition, but you don't have that clinical evidence for us. I appreciate, Robin.
I'm trying to understand what you mean by clinical evidence. What would you consider
Royal
clinical
Society's
evidence?
analysed all the worldwide
I
studies.
think
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
No, the
Councillor,
submitter has.
point of order.
What's the point of order, Councillor?
What
is the point of order?
Yeah, well, Councillor Darby is actually interrogating the.
No, order.
That's a
No,
really
order.
important issue.
That's not a point of order, Councillor Quacks. I think Councillor Darby is quite
Asking a
entitled to ask the question and
An interrogation,
have a
Mr.
backup question to
It's an interjection,
elucidate
not
further
point of order.
information. So, Councillor, are you able to answer that further?
Well, we do have all the evidence from the Royal Society led by Sir Peter Gluckman, and you know, Julia Peters would be quite happy to provide further evidence should the council like it, and she's a clinician.
Thank you. Any
So
other
just,
questions?
I have another question. Richard, you said you acknowledged that the concentration of fluoride in water supplies is a mass medication. You acknowledge it as a mass medication.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, most people in the world get it naturally in their water supply. In New Zealand, it's low, and then you make a decision as to whether you provide it as for everyone, and then people who object to it take it out, or whether people who are desperate to get it have to get it through toothpaste and the like. And given the relative populations, the people who are likely to go to the trouble of filtering out probably are eating healthier food, but a lot of the people who otherwise are only affording unhealthy food and getting excessive dental caries. And this is a public health measure that's one of the most effective in the world for actually dealing with a public health issue.
And final question, Mr. Chair. So you have a community, many that have moved there and live in that community because of the non-fluoridated water. And you say that they can filter it out. What is the cost? What is the annual cost of using a fluoride filter? What knowledge do you have of that? And you also go on to say that the referendum can be somewhat dismissed because a referendum shouldn't be applied there. How are you reading your community in arriving here making this recommendation if you so easily want to dismiss a referendum, which is the democratic process?
Well, I think that, like most parts of Auckland, the opinion would be pretty evenly divided. I'm saying it's a combination of a scientific question and a moral question, and the things that are scientific questions should not be put to a referendum any more than, as I said, creationism or. Yes. And in terms of if people have moved to only Hanga to get pure water, they're getting water that is less pure than occurs in most of the rest of Auckland, because it might have started out pure in the early 19th century, but it collects all the stuff under the residential and industrial areas on its way to coming out at United Kingdom.
Thank Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't really have a question, but I'd just like to support this presentation. In a previous job that I had, I was the manager of dental contracts in the
Well, I think there's going to be a time.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
there's gonna be a
Well, I'll leave
time,
it to
there's
them.
gonna be a
Thank you, Mr.
motion.
Chair.
Councillor Lee?
Yeah, given the arguments for and against that have been going on for years, good morning, Robin and Richard. The arguments that have been going on for years, and given Onehunga has become quite famous for its non-fluoride added water, do you not think that in terms of public health, public choice and public well-being, a referendum is something which empowers and respects the local community and enables their views to be reflected by decision makers? Would you not agree that in the end it should come down to democracy and democratic choice?
I don't see that this is, you could put 100 really important questions to people and ones on which they're likely to be better informed.
I'm just talking about fluoride.
Yes, yes.
Onehunga
Exactly.
people know quite a lot about it.
Well, that last time a lot of people thought it caused homosexuality. I don't think they'll be used the next time that comes up, but there's less of hostility in that area. But so it's a choice, but I think
That's a
I
wee
think
bit
you can't.
dismissing.
Well,
Are we
no, that's
debating,
true. That
Mr.
was the big
Chairman?
pamphlet that came out at the end of the referendum, and was quite persuasive. So I think we should put more things to a referendum. I don't think this is the sort of question that's best decided by
cost.
public opinion.
Okay, thank you. Just Councillor Walker?
Yeah, just have a question about the distinction between chlorine, chloride and fluoride. I mean, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is the reason that chlorine's in the water is to meet the requirements of an act that specifies the quality of drinking water that's available at the tap by the consumer. And the purpose of the chlorine is essentially to sanitise the water. That's my understanding.
To stop us getting sick from bugs.
Conceivably, whereas my understanding is that fluoride is put in the water for health reasons.
Well, they're both health reasons.
But one is a requirement of an act, the other is not. There's a clear distinction between the two.
So you've got a choice, but they're both for health reasons. One of them is to kill the bugs, and the other one is to reduce the amount of dental decay. So they're both
different sort
public
of
health
bug.
measures.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Crum, I'll take your motion now.
Yeah, I was just seeking clarification on that, Mr. Chair, on whenabouts that. Now,